Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Why I Hate This Movie. I'm your host, Derek Rios, and with always my co-host and heterosexual life mate, Danny Newton. How you doing, Danny?
I've been better.
That's good. That's good. Today we're going to be talking about The Last Airbender.
Yes.
A.K.A. Avatar.
Yes.
And this is M.Knight Shyamalan's... Shyamalan?
Shyamalan.
Shyamalan.
Yes.
M. Night's version that he made back in 2010.
Written, produced, and directed by.
And the twist is the movie sucked dick.
Oh my God. I mean, even for a kid's film, this is bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He tried, I don't know. The story is pretty much the same as the first season, cohesive through and through, for the most part. But it's like a 2-hour movie, so you don't get any of the character development and like really detail-oriented stuff they get along the way in the show.
That's a failure of the writing. We've watched plenty of 2-hour movies that have lots of character development and actually make you care about your protagonist and antagonist. Right? He just failed. It's
pretty much, I imagine this as someone read a synopsis of...
Read the Cliff Notes.
Yep, of the show and was like, oh, I can do that.
Yeah.
And just took all the bullet points from the first season and threw it into a movie. And you could tell that he had never watched a show for the fact that just basic, all the fucking names. Just there's multiple names that are just mispronounced. Like the main character. What's the main character's name?
I have no idea.
They say the Avatar.
Yeah, they call him the Avatar multiple times, but I did not catch
his name. They call him Ong.
Yeah, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
His name's Aang.
Well, I mean, tomato. It doesn't make me care about his character anymore.
It's stuff like that. It's obviously Aang and not Ong. Setting this up, just the whole world build is pretty much 100 years ago from the moment that this starts with them finding Aang in the water bubble, the little frozen capsule, right?
Yeah.
100 years previous to this, the Fire Nation waged war on the Airbenders.
Right.
And took them all out because the king was targeting the next rotation.
First, you got to explain the way it works.
Okay.
So each iteration, the Avatar is born into a different tribe.
Yes.
Right? And it goes in a rotation. And so happens that it was the Airbenders' time to have the Avatar.
It's because it follows in a flow of life. It's fire, air, water, earth.
Yeah. And
if you look at it as a flow chart, so the previous firebender was actually, which you get into the story later, which we'll have spoilers in this. So he was actually killed by the current Fire King. After that, he's like, I got to go kill all the airbenders. That way the next airbender or Avatar isn't born and cut off the cycle.
Yeah.
And they also do it on a night because every 100 years, this comet passed over. Their fire bending powers is exponentially more powerful.
It feels like a situation where there must always be this person.
Yeah.
So it seems like, even though I understand the motivation of kill the bloodline and we'll just rule forever, it seems like it's kind of an impossibility.
You would think that because you think, okay, just because they're not born in that tribe, other people would learn to airbend and be born with those powers. It's weird that the way the tribes work, it's very secular where they're born there and then only some of them actually have the abilities and then they have to be trained for it.
There's only a certain number of Jedis in the general population. Yes.
Because when you fast forward into the current 100 years later, where it's current, you find Katara, who's the Southern Water Tribe, which has been decimated pretty much by the Fire Nation because after they killed all the Airbenders, Aang, who runs away and during a storm he gets submerged or whatever and he freezes himself in the Avatar state. 100 years later they find him or whatever. But so the Fire Nation is pretty much taken over and there's been raging war for the last 100 years.
You would think that the Fire Nation can't take over because here's my argument. When the fire department arrives at your house to put your house out, what do they spray your house down with? water.
It's just more of a yeah. I mean, water is the counterpart to fire.
Yeah,
as is fire beats air.
Right. Paper beats rock.
Yeah.
Scissors beats paper.
But that's why they struggle. Even the Earth Kingdom was just really strong, and they have like a big stronghold city that they talk about. They wage war on for like a few years.
Yeah,
and that was Iroh. He's my favorite character, which they completely destroy his character in this because he's supposed to be this fat, old, lovable grandpa type figure. He's pretty much Prince Zuko's dad, father figure in this. The relationship they develop while they're doing this whole first season's great, and throughout the whole thing, really. I know we're jumping around a lot, but just the whole world building of this is fantastic, and the story's great. I highly recommend checking out the animated series. Even the new Netflix show did it pretty well. It was pretty much the first season done pretty well. It's just they don't have all the extra episodes like the side quests where you have these quirky, fun episodes where it really develops the characters, and instead it just slaps you with exposition, and this movie is very bad with that, where everything it just comes out and like, oh, your son died in that fight, right? Yeah, I remember. Instead of like
it's very tell not show.
Yeah, unlike the animated series, it just you show it and you have to figure it out on your own, and you see what these characters are feeling.
Yeah, I couldn't relate to any character in this. Like I told you before we started, I don't know any of their names, and it's because none of them are relatable characters. I can't see myself as anybody in this movie. Everything is completely just exposition. Here's a thing that happened. We're not going to show it to you because that would cost money.
Yeah.
But they don't even really tell you the motivations of the bad guys other than they just want to conquer the world.
Yeah.
And there's a war going on you never see.
No.
I don't care about any of these characters. When they die, I don't care. When they're victorious, I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Well, that's the thing. You don't get invested. You have no character development or reason for caring.
When we meet the Avatar, he's literally in a fucking ice bubble with Falkor.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's Appa. Appa is a flying mammoth. They were like raised by the air nomads.
Well, all I know is every time this thing is in the background of a scene, it sounds like an old man sitting on his balls. It's like, what the fuck is that noise?
Well, first of all, Appa's like a big part of it. He's his friend, his animal companion, effectively. And they're best friends. He helped raise Appa.
Okay.
Because whenever an air nomad they reach a certain age, they go out and find and like make a bond with their air buffalo, pretty much, and they raise it from pretty much a child.
Every 5 minutes, all I could think was, man, Falkor just sat on his balls again, just screaming in the background.
I never noticed it.
Dude.
Yeah, he was barely in this.
It was fucking obnoxious.
He is barely in this. There might have been 2 scenes I remember seeing him
You hear him a lot. It's fucking obnoxious. And I don't know, like the motivations are stupid. Like they bring this dude back to their tribe, and then the fire guys show up, and they're just like, well, we can't do anything to defend him, and blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. So they take the Avatar off, and then the next scene is just like some old lady like, get your dumb asses out there and go save him. What the fuck are you doing?
Well,
you shouldn't have let him take him to begin with.
So what happens is, they discover him. You had Ahsoka and
bro, these fire people are at war with water people, and they take boats everywhere to go fight these water people. The disadvantage that the fire people have is mind-boggling.
But I mean,
you know what a waterbender could do? Open up the fucking ocean and your boat just falls in.
They don't have that much power. Well, here's the thing, though. There's only one water. They gotten rid of all the waterbenders in this other tribe. So you had Katara, who is like practicing on the side.
Yeah.
But if they found out that she was a waterbender, they would take her away.
It should have never happened, though. That's what I'm saying. Like when you think of the power level, you only got to displace a small portion of the ocean just to sink a boat.
There is they had hundreds of boats.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just an overwhelming number.
They had hundreds of benders.
Not really. It's not like these tribes. I mean, you see the state of the tribe. It's just a small
Well, when we
village.
get to the northern kingdom or whatever, they had hundreds.
But
Why
they
wouldn't
were
the Southerners have
stronghold.
that
They had
too?
a stronghold set up.
So
These the water tribes were like just scattered nomads across the land. They didn't have a huge city built up down there.
and when we get to the fucking dirt people,
That's the Earth Kingdom.
yeah,
Well, so the Fire Nation is like,
they're so stupid. They literally had to be told, "Hey, you know they're keeping you prisoner on a fucking dirt floor, right? Fucking kill these guys. Stop being morons."
yeah, but again, most of their benders have been taken away.
There was a lot of people in that fucking circle, dude.
I know.
Yeah.
They're hiding, but like the Fire Nation has taken over part of it, and they're just at the point where it's not worth fighting back.
You know, you can also put out fire with dirt too.
Okay.
I couldn't get into it. I could not see the Fire Nation as a threat. In my mind, they were not a threat. They should have never got as much power as they did. They had to have been through sheer incompetence.
Nah.
Yeah.
That's what, again, where it really hits the mark, where how powerful they are.
But we don't see it.
I know. I understand that, Danny.
That's the problem. That's the problem with this movie. We don't
Mhm.
see any of this.
You see it a lot more in the animated show, of course.
Well, we didn't watch that.
I know. Katara and Sokka find him in the village, and they don't realize he's the Avatar at first because all the Airbenders are dead, and the only one in the tribe that had ever actually seen Airbender is their grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, "Oh, I think this might be the Avatar. He's the last Airbender. Like, we haven't seen an Airbender in fucking 100 years." So when they show up, Sokka is pretty much, he was in charge. Their father was the leader, and he charged him of like just taking care of and protecting the camp. But he's still a child, right?
Yeah.
And he has this whole thing where there's a lot of part of his character development where he has to choose to leave his tribe that he's trying to protect and protect his sister who wants to go and develop her water bending skills and also help the Avatar along their journey. And it's about a journey of friendship and development. And they really missed the mark. And the show does it a little bit better, the live action show, but it's a lot of like understanding what the Avatar is, and each one's unique to where he gets through these situations with camaraderie and friendship.
You know, another movie that was all about, you know, a hero's journey and friendship and development and, you know, characters bonding. Lord of the Rings. Yeah.
Yeah.
This wasn't that hard.
No. They only chose to show the scenes where he just gets captured or someone gets captured over and over.
Oh, dude, he gets captured so many fucking times. I don't understand.
But the Fire Nation shows up and they're pretty much like, the Zuko's going like, "I'm going to torch this place unless you give me this foreigner." And so Aang gives himself up.
Not our 7 huts.
Yeah, well. So he gives himself up to protect the village. And then they choose to go after him and rescue him. And actually, the one of the weird things they change is the grandmother is the one that gives her the scroll before they leave. She's the one that's like, here's this ancient water bending scroll that'll help you develop your techniques. And they didn't just find it randomly in the Earth Kingdom.
Yeah. These guys aren't unkillable, right? It's like, it takes time for them to spin up their bullshit.
Oh, the fire?
Yeah. You have warriors in your tribe.
Well,
fucking kill these people.
here's a big thing.
Yeah.
It really doesn't. So that's a lot of people complain about the special effects in this. And it's not that the special effects are really bad. They look fine.
Yeah.
It's very acceptable for the time. The problem is the way fire bending and air bending work, all the bending, it's just really clunky. It's like a flow. Like they do a lot of spins and kicks, and they're just shitting out fireballs the entire time when they're spinning and kicking and stuff like that, right? But in this, it's like they'll do a full dance and then a little rock pebble will like fly across the screen.
I mean, when you think about it, though, that's kind of the way magic works in like RPGs and stuff. You take your full turn doing all your fucking movements and gestures and stuff like that to make a spell happen. That's kind of what these guys are doing.
Yes, but it really doesn't relay the effect and power that some of these people can actually wield, and it's not creative at all with their abilities. And it really missed the mark on that. And that's what it's like I said, it's really clunky the way the effects work into what they're doing. Because it's just them dancing, and then they'll like, oh, a little bubble pops up.
I wish we would have got something more grounded for their effects. Like they're at heart, they're warriors. Mm-hmm. They're all warriors, right?
Well, so I mean, it's women and children too at this camp.
No. I'm not talking about the camp. I'm just talking about the Fire Nation guys that show up. They're mostly warriors that show up. Yeah. And if that's the case, then honestly, like there should be like degrees of firebending. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Or any kind of stuff like this. So like there should be different casts. Like these firebenders are more like mages and sorcerers. These firebenders are more like hard up warriors. When they bend fire, they bend it into fucking swords and shields and shit.
Well,
right? I would have liked to have seen stuff like that. I would like to have seen things that just looked practical.
That's actually more of the second season. It's really interesting because the second season takes place. It's actually like I can't remember how many years, like 100. It's almost like 100 years or whatever. It's Aang has a kid and he's old now, and it's about he marries a waterbender, and so they have a child that ends up being the next Avatar, and she's the waterbender, of course, because that's the next cycle. And it's about how the society. Like I said, the world building is amazing in this series, in the second season especially, because it's about how the society develops with these abilities.
Yeah.
Besides airbending is just still always just kind of air, but each other element gets, which you'll see later in the series in the first season, each element kind of gets when you master it, you get to the next level. And earthbending, really hardcore earthbenders learn to bend metal.
Yeah.
And you'll see like all the cops pretty much, like the police squad in the second season, they're all metal benders because like most of the city is built off metal and stuff at this point, right?
Yeah.
And then you have fire. They learn to master electricity, and they can shoot bolts of lightning. Water is exceptionally cool. There's a big spoiler alert. They learn to bend blood, and they can pretty much control people.
This was frustrating to watch. This was just frustrating to watch.
I mean, I could imagine, but just think of my level of frustration on how like they can't even pronounce fucking names right. That's how bad it is. And even to the point where at one point they mess up yin and yang. They say yin and yang.
Yeah.
Like how do you fuck that up? That's not even like a fucking name in the series.
I was expecting more out of their celestial guardians.
Yeah, it actually is a lot different. And I
was expecting Chinese dragons.
Well, no, there's no dragons in this. The whole dragon spirit doesn't exist in the show. The whole time they're traveling around, he's actually going to other Avatar statues.
He's communing with a spirit that's in the form of a dragon.
But no, right? No, that's not in the fucking show.
Oh, I know it's not in the show.
I understand it's.
But I was just wanting some continuity in the movie. That's all.
Yes.
So if he's communing with this being that is in the form of a dragon,
mm-hmm.
I was expecting like, okay, all of their capital city elements in this must be like Chinese dragons,
mm-hmm.
right? Because we've seen this before.
Yeah.
We've seen it in Shang-Chi. We've seen it in Iron Fist, where a dragon spirit is essentially like the ruler of your capital or whatever, right? Or what grants you your powers. And I thought there was going in that direction, that all the spirits in this movie would be like that. And then when we get to the very end and the spirit's just a fucking goldfish in a pond, I'm just like, this is lame as fuck.
So
this is lame as fuck.
Again, that's where they don't explain anything and you're just like, okay, this is lame.
Yeah.
But
I thought we were going to watch, like, Fire Prince over here had to fight a fucking dragon. I'm just like, oh, that's going to be interesting.
Well,
no. Kill a goldfish, fuck him. It's so stupid.
Well, there again, so that the main villain is Commander Zhao.
Yeah.
And he's the one that's like competing with Zuko trying to catch the Avatar the whole first season.
Yeah.
Prince Zuko, they really messed up his character. The whole thing with him not being wearing a uniform and stuff. He's been exiled, but it's just to the point where his father tasked him with finding the Avatar,
mm-hmm.
which was pretty much at the time he thought just an impossible task because no one's seen him in 100 years or whatever. So he just upsets his father. And then his father burns him in a duel. Like that's why he's scarred on his face.
Yeah.
you're exiled. So he can't step foot on Fire Nation territory until he finds Avatar. That's his whole task. But they gave him a boat and a crew. So he's been just going around these outskirt territories looking for it, right?
Yeah.
For the past, I think, year or so. And then Commander Zhao, he's the one that finds these scrolls and texts that talks about the moon spirits and the moon and water or ocean spirit, right? Those two fish that you see. I forgot to tell you is that spirits don't generally interact with a human world at all. Like
See, that's what I was expecting.
They don't.
I was expecting them to be ethereal.
Exactly. Yeah. They have their own plane, right?
Mm-hmm.
And those two spirits, only once a year, they get together and take a mortal form. It's just to know what it feels like to be mortal, and have that connection to life.
Well, the way they acted is these goldfish are always in this pond.
No, they're only there that one full moon a year.
Yeah.
And so that was the one time in the year. They don't explain that at all, that they have a mortal form. Of course, the moon spirit is what gives the waterbenders their abilities to bend water.
Yeah. In the whole last scene, like I was saying in the first scene, it's just, you got a whole bunch of water dudes up here. Why isn't every boat on the bottom of the fucking ocean right now?
Well, like I said, they can't just open up holes in the ocean like that.
There's a ton of those dudes. They could totally do that.
They also don't show them defending the city because they actually know that the water or Fire Nation's coming, and they set up defenses and battle them. There's like an actually legit strategy, and the waterbenders are putting up a good fight until Zhao sneaks in. They don't force their way in. He actually sneaks in and kills the moon spirit, and that's when they lose their bending powers, and the Fire Nation starts wiping them all out.
Yeah.
And then Aang, he doesn't just create a big tidal wave. He actually goes to the ocean spirit and gives his body to him, because the whole reason the Avatar exists is for two reasons. It's to keep balance between our plane and the spirit plane, because later on you'll see like a lot of humans manipulating spirits, and it makes them upset, and a lot of bad shit happens. And the other reason Avatar exists is to keep balance between the four nations.
Yeah.
And the whole thing with them, like the dragon spirit that doesn't exist in the show, telling him, "Oh, you can't be a fighter. The Avatar's not a fighter." That's not true at all.
No, your primary function is combat.
Yeah. Most of them were just fighters, and in middle of wars.
I mean, you're expected to be the best combatant. That's why you know all four elements.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's actually an island they go to. They actually show the statue to it. I can't remember the exact name of the Avatar, but she was like a couple previous. She was an earthbender. She actually moves an entire island. She moved the island out into the ocean, away from the mainland, and like ripped the earth apart. That's the level of power that the Avatar and the Avatar state can possess.
Yeah.
So the whole time he's going through this journey, instead of talking to a dragon spirit, he's actually communing with the previous avatars to kind of like have them help him along the way. Like I said, it doesn't show this at all, where he's a lost child. His tribe's been wiped out. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know the other three elements he has to learn. And the whole thing is they're going up there to be trained. And along the way, Katara is training him along the way.
Yeah.
But she herself is still like an amateur. It really hits a mark on all levels. Zuko and Iroh, like two of the best characters, and it doesn't develop their characters at all. They're really linear, just like, I gotta catch Avatar.
Well, the thing is like, I could obviously see where Uncle was at, and I could see that this is just my inference because it doesn't actually ever say this or anything like that, but it's obvious that Uncle wants to overthrow the Empire and put this boy over the Empire because he will be a better ruler than what's already there, and it's obvious.
Yep. The
uncle is sympathetic to the cause. 100%.
Well, he was a warrior.
Yeah.
And he fought for the Fire Nation. And like I said, Ba Sing Se is the Earth Kingdom capital.
Yeah.
And he waged war on it for, I don't know, I think they said it was like 10 years or something like that. A 10-year siege. But during that siege, he lost his son, and he failed to take the city. But anyways, they actually do pretty well in the live series, showing this past events and how it affects them. And Zuko actually goes and comforts his uncle and stuff. And once he gets outcast by his father, Iroh kind of has sympathy, and he pretty much treats him as his own son. Like I said, he's a father figure in ways.
Right.
Because his father is just blinded by the need for power, ultimate power of ruling.
How
the
long
world.
do these people live?
I mean, they live about 60, 80 years lifespan.
So this will be the second emperor into the Fire Nation's reign.
Yeah. His dad was the one that took out the Airbenders.
We should have saw that.
Yeah,
it really should have started with this movie. Should have started with that.
Well, like I said, the live action starts with that. The animated series doesn't start with that, but it puts it in along the way, because as he's visiting these other air temples, you see kind of what happens.
It's just no setup. Could you imagine watching The Lord of the Rings, just going in cold,
and they just start the journey?
They just start the journey.
Yep.
You have no idea. You do not see the little flashback of the Last Alliance and Isildur taking the ring for himself and stuff like that. You don't see any of that, so you don't know any of the setup. And it's literally just like, well, Frodo, you need to go to Rivendell.
Yep.
Why? Yep. Fucking why?
So he could develop his water bending powers.
Right.
Yeah. And one thing they don't talk about is women aren't allowed to be fighters in the water tribes. So they get up there, and Katara is pretty much like, hey, go be with the women, you're healers. Because water can actually heal.
Okay.
They don't show that at all either. Water has the ability to heal. They're sexist, right? But that's just the way their tribe was set up.
Yeah.
The women are healers, the men are fighters.
I totally agree. Women don't belong in the workplace.
Yep, you're right.
Yep.
Or the battlefield. But she proves them wrong. She stands toe to toe with their master by the time she gets up there, and they let her fight. It also doesn't show the relationship that was developed between the princess and Sokka.
The relationship in this was...
He's pretty cute.
Yeah, man. She's pretty cute. That instantly banging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It pretty much happens the same in animated series where it's like love at first sight. Sokka is kind of a horn dog in the whole show. Like, it's love at first sight a lot of times. This isn't the first time he falls in love. He actually falls in love with one of the when they go to the island I was telling you about.
Yeah.
There's actually a group of female ninjas that are all badasses that he falls in love with one of them, and she comes back and is a big part of the story later.
But he's not that here, and they
actually
hand wave over everything, and it's like, oh, they fall in love quickly. Well, it doesn't even show that. It doesn't even fucking show him talking to her, or maybe flirting with her, or hitting on her, or anything.
That's what happens.
Well, it just happens.
There's a lot of flirting, and then they kind of train a little bit, because he actually was trained by the female ninjas tribe. He trains with them for a while they're out there on that island, while Aang is communing with the previous avatar. I think she was the last Earth avatar.
So, I mean, like I said, just watching the movie, there's no real reason why he hasn't completely accomplished his mission, because all he's got to do is learn the other three elements. Well, he already knows how to do water, and apparently he can just read a book or just talk to an Earth guy.
It's a little...
He should know how to do all this by the end of the movie.
Yeah, it's a little bit harder, because when you learn a new element, it's like learning a new way to walk.
Okay.
Or it's a new way of thinking that you have to like ingrain in yourself.
I believe you.
Okay.
I just, I was expecting more of a multi-million-dollar movie. That's all.
The other thing that really hit is even though Ozai wants domination and is bad, and he puts Commander Zhao in charge, he never okays him to kill the Moon Spirit. That was all Zhao. Like, he goes behind Ozai's back, because Ozai knows that if you kill the spirit, there will be huge ramifications in the spirit world. So the actual ending is supposed to be Aang giving himself to the ocean spirit, and the ocean spirit uses his avatar state and controls him, whatever, right? To create a huge fucking water elemental that walks out there and just wipes out the Fire Nation's attack force. And it does pretty good in the live action too, where you see this huge fucking water elemental just destroying all these ships, right?
Yeah.
But no, it's just a fucking tidal wave in this, and I guess that's quicker.
I don't know. Like I said,
It's a
all
lot
these
cheaper.
waterbenders should have been swamping these boats. They just should have.
They're heavy. I don't know, man. They're all made of steel.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
buoyant.
Buoyant? No.
Pretty buoyant.
So when I think about this movie, I think about other things that have this kind of genre. What do you think would have been more disappointing to go to on opening night? This or like the first D&D movie?
This.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're both equally as bad.
They are, but the D&D movie is still like enjoyably bad, and it has like cheesy CGI and everything. I mean, it's 10 years earlier than this.
Yeah.
But at least you had some good stuff where like you had the bad guy just overacting his ass off.
Yeah.
That was fucking great.
You're right. Jeremy Irons makes all the difference.
Yeah, Jeremy Irons isn't in this. And you also had fucking snails. Like,
yeah.
I love
Wayans.
Yeah, Marlon Wayans.
Yeah. There was nothing charming about this.
No, like I said, they got some kid who probably was an okay actor, but mainly just a martial artist. And that was a lot of the people they got. It was like, hey, you know little martial arts.
That and the entire time I was watching, I just felt like these water people shouldn't be white folks.
No, they're mostly Asians in the show. But then again, like most of them in general are Asians.
Yeah. Honestly, this being my only exposure to this genre, I don't care for it.
You should. I really wish you would go and watch the animated series because it's pretty great.
Oh, maybe.
It's fantastic. Even just starting with the live action is good enough.
Yeah.
That'll get you on board to watch the animated show. But it's a fantastic show. It's probably one of the best cartoon series I've ever seen.
Okay.
Hands down.
This movie shouldn't have been that hard. This movie should not have been this hard. It literally should have opened with the whole thing. It should open with the flashback of the initial assault by the Fire Nation to take out all the airbenders, because that is, of all the versus modes in this movie, that is the most believable one, that the fire people could slaughter the air people.
Yeah.
Right? That seems simple. The fire people slaughtering the dirt people and the water people seems hard. That seems like we're playing on hard mode.
It is hard. And there's a reason that they're still at war 100 years later.
So we should have opened with that, right? All the fucking air people getting knocked out.
Yeah.
And this child getting spirited away somehow.
Well, he flees.
Yeah.
Because there again, they tell him, and this is pretty much true for every other avatar, is you can't have loved ones.
Right.
When it's just a target. It's like kind of like Spider-Man, right? If Spider-Man has loved ones, they're going to be a target, and it's always ends tragically. Right. It's the same thing, the same concept where you might be this ultimate being, and
to be a hero is to be alone.
Yeah, to be a hero is to be alone. Exactly. Yes. And he doesn't want to accept that because he's going to lose all of his friends and family. Right. Well, he didn't really have family, but all of his friends and the people around him that he loves.
Yeah. So after we watch everybody get slaughtered, and we watch the Fire Emperor, declare his domain over it, and we get the general synopsis of what's happening, right? Mm-hmm. These are the bad guys. These are why these are the bad guys. This is the plan. Then we cut to how much ever time has passed, and we find this kid again. Then he has to go on his journey. Yeah. Right? But it's like Sauron is over there in Mordor, so we're not actually seeing him as the threat he really is. Yeah. We're more focused on these characters and their journey. And every now and then you'll get your band of roaming orcs and stuff. Mm-hmm. That's like your Fire Nation soldiers actually hunting them.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly what the show is.
And it should culminate, since this is obviously only going to be the first part of an ongoing trilogy or quadrilogy.
It's three books. Yeah, 3 seasons.
Yeah. It should have an ending similar to Fellowship of the Ring or Empire Strikes Back, something where it's open-ended. you leave our characters on a not good note. Mm-hmm. So that when the second part starts, they have something to overcome.
Yep.
Right? And you should have characters die along the way. You should have characters that you've kind of built up. You understand their personalities. So when they die, you give a shit.
Well, here's the big thing about it is a children's show.
Yes.
So they don't really kill off a lot of characters.
Right.
You might not see them much.
I gather that from the PG rating.
Yeah. So there's not like a lot of like, oh, hey, here's this character we developed for a long time. Now he's dead.
Right.
You don't get a lot of that because it is targeted towards a younger audience. Mm-hmm. But it's still very mature in the way that it doesn't just tell you everything up front.
Yeah. You have to emotionally take something from your good guys. Mm-hmm. Right? They gotta have a gut punch. And
in the animated show, it never really delves into the backstory of the father until later in the later seasons. Mm-hmm. And it's just about developing Zuko as being like, oh, I got to capture the Avatar so I can regain my honor and go back and take my throne as the prince.
See, the thing with Zuko is they should have been setting him up solely as the sympathetic bad guy.
They do.
With the anti-hero, not necessarily a bad guy.
Yeah.
More like the Punisher, you know, where Zuko's okay with dropping bodies.
He is. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you see that along the way, but he develops into a great character. And they actually eventually develop this friendship in the later seasons. And a lot of it has to do with Iroh, because Iroh is this positive influence in his life where it's like, okay, hey, you don't have to always appease your dad. You can live your own life.
Right.
It doesn't even talk about the sister. They do. They really jump into the sister's backstory in the animated or in the live action. Mm-hmm. But in the animated series, you don't find anything about the sister until the second season, when she becomes the predominant bad guy.
So in this movie, all we get about the sister is she's a dick, and then at the very end, she has a creepy smile. Mm-hmm. That's all we get of the sister.
Yeah.
And literally, all the uncle does in order to try to sway him is like, hey, man, there's a lot of hot chicks in this town. You should just settle down here. It's like, really?
Yeah.
That's what we're going with right now?
Yeah, you could just settle down and... No, that's not Iroh's motivation at all.
No, not at all. It's obvious from the jump when they first capture the Avatar that he is just absolutely thrilled. Like, oh, we can end all this now, right?
Well, he's always been a big believer of like the spirit and balance between the worlds and everything.
Yeah. It shouldn't have been great. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. This was never going to be great, but it should not have sucked this bad.
They had all the source material they needed, and he didn't fucking read any of it or watch any of it.
I don't get it.
But that's M.Knight Shyamalan, bro.
It always should have been like a PG version of like harder stuff, right? This had potential, but its potential was not realized, and to me, it does a lot of damage to the brand.
Well, like I said, it was forgotten. They have a live action that does a decent job. It's not perfect by any stretch, but I'd recommend that. But if you really want to enjoy what this world entails, watch the animated series. You'll like it. It's great for kids. Or you just want to watch it alone, it's fine. I definitely recommend check that out. You got anything else you want to add?
No, this is just boring as fuck.
Yeah, I definitely did not enjoy rewatching. It took me like 3 or 4 sits to finish it. So
that's sad that this is a rewatch for you. This is the first
I saw it in theaters.
Oh,
yeah.
You paid money for this?
Mm-hmm, I did. I hadn't seen the show yet, but everyone told me how great it was. Yeah, I was really disappointed. It was not good. And I could tell, like, and even never seeing the show, I was like, man, this is bad.
Yeah.
I actually finally sat down and just watched the show about 4 years ago. That's fantastic.
I couldn't imagine paying money to watch this.
Yeah. But you're right. The movie did damage the brand enough for me that it took me several years later before I finally watched the animated show.
It's barely a movie.
I would definitely go at least an 8 on the hate meter.
Yeah,
maybe 9. It destroys something that is fantastic.
I don't know. I don't know where my grade even is because I just don't even care about it.
Right.
I'm just so passive towards it. I just don't care about it. I guess 4 or 5. I mean, I definitely wouldn't watch it. I wouldn't recommend anybody watch this. It's fucking terrible.
Yep.
The characters don't have motivation, really. None of the things they do make sense. Bro, if you want to imprison your dirt people, put them on a fucking, like, iceberg out in the middle of the ocean.
Well, they actually...
Right? If you want to imprison your water people, put them in the middle of a fucking desert. I don't understand. It's so
they actually
stupid.
put them in a metal prison later on.
So fucking
like,
stupid.
When they take them away, they actually put them in a real prison. But these aren't prisons. These are just small tribes that they own the territory. So
no, these are open air prisons they got them in. The little kid said as much.
Yeah, but in the actual, they're not supposed to be prisons. That's not a real prison.
They are.
Nah, I know.
And that's how poorly this is written.
Yeah.
I have to go by what I watched. And this is written so poorly, we put the dirt people in a fucking dirt prison.
Yeah.
And expect them not to fucking beat the shit out of us.
Well,
it's so fucking
It
dumb.
also takes 5 of them to chuck a rock. So what are you going to do, bro? In this show. It's like it literally had a full team dancing and 1 rock gets thrown.
But not always. They had the one dude dancing the fucking rip the dirt up and make it like a dirt shield.
But that was the one guy apparently that could actually earthbend. The rest are throwing pebbles.
I think a pebble could have killed these guys.
No, man, they got metal armor bounces off.
They don't have it on their face.
It's hard to aim that shit.
But no, this is forgettable.
Go watch the show.
Yeah.
Make sure you like, subscribe,
and yeah, like, subscribe, hit up the comment section, click all the thingies, hit all the buzzers and bells.
Yeah.
And,
thumbs up, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Or down. It doesn't matter.
I don't blame you. I'm down. After watching this.
Yeah.
Yin and yang. Yin and yang.
Yep.
Yep.
Tomato.
I bet you said it right the first time, and then M.Knight Shyamalan was like, "You said that wrong. It's yin and yang. I'm a linguistics expert." Oh, fuck that. Anyways, thanks for joining us. Bye.
See you later, guys.